In this video, we're going to study the fable of the dog and his shadow. This is lesson 9 in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy's Aesop's Fables course. The fable of the dog and his shadow, or his reflection would be better. As usual, we'll read this short fable together and then talk a little bit about its meaning, the characters, and how we can make good use of this fable in our own lives. So let's read together the fable of the dog and his shadow or reflection. A dog, bearing or carrying in his mouth a piece of meat that he had stolen, was crossing a smooth stream by means of a plank. He was walking across a board over a stream. Looking into the water, he saw what he took to be another dog carrying another piece of meat. Snapping greedily to get this as well, he let go the meat that he had and lost it in the stream. This is the fable of the dog and his shadow. Now, when most students read this fable, they see a simple message about a dog being greedy. And they'll say something like, the moral of this fable is to be content. But there's more to this fable than just a dog who's not content. Let's look at it more carefully. Notice the dog had a piece of meat in his mouth. But where did that meat come from? We read, a dog bearing in his mouth a piece of meat that he had stolen. Okay, so this was a dog who had a stolen piece of meat. So there's more to this story than just a dog that's not content. There's more to this story. This dog was walking back after stealing meat from someone else. So he's carrying in his mouth a piece of stolen meat and was crossing a stream. And he looked into the reflection in the water, and it looked like there was another dog there with another piece of meat. And then we read, snapping greedily to get this as well, he let go the meat that he had and lost it in the stream. This is the fable of the dog and his shadow. So what's the message? What's the moral? First of all, this dog has a certain character. This dog is greedy. This dog desires things, and this dog is willing to steal from others. This dog is selfish and greedy. And selfish, greedy people steal things from others. And so this dog, first of all, goes out and doesn't get his food the way a good dog should get his food. Normally, a good dog is fed by his master. A good and faithful dog is generously fed by a master who loves him and takes care of him. That's how dogs earn their living. For some reason, this dog had to go out and steal. He's not a good dog. He goes out and steals a piece of meat, takes meat from someone else, not thinking about the other person. People who steal never think about the people they steal from, that they cause other people to lose things that are theirs. And this selfish dog stealing meat from someone else, we don't know whether it was another dog or from another family or a house or a store All we're told is that he had stolen a piece of meat. Is walking across a stream, and he sees a reflection in the water, and he thinks it's another dog with another piece of meat, and he stupidly snaps at that piece of meat, which doesn't even exist. And when he does so, the meat that he had falls out of his mouth into the stream, and he loses it. And in the end, he ends up with nothing. So more than just being a story about a dog that's not content, this dog shows us what happens to people who are selfish and who steal from others. First, we see that his desire for things led him to steal, and that desire actually made him foolish. He sees a reflection in the water and is so crazy with his greed that he doesn't think or realize that it's just a reflection. He's so greedy and selfish that he just snaps unreasonably, foolishly, and there's nothing even there. And he's trying to steal that too. And he ends up with nothing. It shows us the character of someone who steals things. Their desire for things, when someone steals and they get what they stole, they're not content with that. They're not satisfied, but they go on stealing more and more and more. Because our desires, if we don't control ourselves, our desires will never be satisfied. You'll never be satisfied if you're not content with what you should be content with in the first place. And then you'll start to steal, and if you steal something, you won't be satisfied after you steal something. You'll just want to steal more, and you'll steal more, and you'll steal more, until finally you either lose everything, or no one wants to be around you, or you get in trouble and get caught. You may end up in jail. And your desire, your greed, and your selfishness and stealing will leave you like this dog with nothing in the end. And so we see this greedy desire to steal is deceiving, because we think that by stealing we can get what we want. But we can't, because if our hearts desire to steal, they'll never be satisfied. And we'll just go on doing worse and worse until we finally lose everything. And we have to learn to never take from other people, to be content, to be patient, to think about others. And then we can be reasonable. We won't do something stupid like imagine that a reflection is another dog with more meat that we have to steal. So this dog shows us the danger of selfishness, of stealing, of greed, and how it makes us crazy because we're never satisfied. And in the end, it leads us to nothing. We end up with nothing. And even worse, as people, if we go on stealing our whole lives, we deserve to go to hell and suffer forever for our selfishness, for stealing, for greed. And so this dog is a good warning to us about the dangers of selfishness, of stealing, of greed. And we need to make sure that we avoid the way of this dog, that we don't live like this dog. So I think that's a helpful look into this fable of the dog and his shadow, or the dog and his reflection. As we see here, there's these fables look simple when you first read them, but always remember that Aesop was a very, very wise man, And these stories that he wrote, even though they may seem simple, sometimes have very deep messages in them. And the more and more we think of them, the more we think about all the details of the story, we can continue learning more and more. So I encourage you now to study this fable, think about it, see if there's anything else that you can see in the details or think of. And, uh, and if you find anything interesting, share it with me. I'd like to know what you find. But I hope this is a helpful introduction to Aesop's fable of the dog and his shadow. God bless.